Hello, reading room. How are you today? We are back in the classroom and we are just picking up where we left off as if nothing happened for 4 months. That's what we're doing here in the reading room. Let's just get to our book. Okay, it's been, a little disturbing for me, but it's been a good book. So we'll see. Let me turn this just a little bit more. I hate all those things in the background. But I had to come over here because we lost our connection. Lost my Wi-Fi. I don't know what's up with that. But I do have the Ethernet. While I was running this morning, a plan started to form in my mind. I'm going to do a few things. Number one, stop limiting myself to 1,200 calories per day. Coach says I should be eating closer to 2,000, especially if I'm running every day. Number two, after practice today, no more lying on my calorie track. No more lying on my calorie track calories. I'm going to honestly type in what I have to eat. Number three, I'm going to eat the staff meal at work today. At least I'm going to have a few bites. And number four, I'm going to call Dad. I miss him. Later, turns out I didn't have to call Dad. He showed up at lunch today. I wasn't really paying attention, and when Andy told me we just sat at the table 14, I grabbed 2 glasses of ice water and a basket of breadsticks and was setting them down on the table before I realized who was sitting in the booth. I get into a zone at work, just running the food, looking for empty plates and half full water glasses. I don't even look at the faces of the customers that much anymore. Usually they're chunky and chewing with their mouths open. It grosses me out. I might have dropped off the water and breadsticks and left without even noticing, but Dad said my name. Dad, what are you doing here? Me, I work here. What are you doing here? Dad, having lunch. This is Annette. Well, that's interesting. There's an Annette in here. Oh, that's not what I wanted. That's what I want. There we go. Dad nodded across the table to a woman with the brightest red hair I'd ever seen and mesmerizing green eyes. She wore a silky white top that swooped low under her emerald blazer. She smiled and said hi. For the first time all day, my Parmesan's team smile faded. Parmesans? Team smile faded. I couldn't smile. I couldn't say hello back. I couldn't look away. I just stood there holding a basket of breadsticks staring at this woman. Have you ever had a moment where you just know something out of the blue, no questions asked? I had one of those moments standing in the middle of Parmesans, my nose full of garlic and ears full of forks, scraping the final bits of bottomless salad drenched in Italian dressing from chilled ceramic bowls. This woman was why Dad left Mom. I'm sure I only stood there staring for a couple of seconds, but it felt like time stood still. Dad doesn't get flustered easily, but I could tell he was flustered when he spoke again. Dad, when did you start working here? Me. When did you stop having Korean barbecue for lunch? I turned and headed toward the kitchen blindly. As I walked around the food prep bar toward the dish room, I heard Melanie chirp, full hands in, at me, but I didn't stop. I walked past the dishwashers, through the door to the dry storage in the corner, and leaned against a big metal rack stacked high with the boxed wine they used in the marinara sauce and to saute mushrooms. I closed my eyes and took about 10 long, deep breaths. All I could see was Annette's face, her bright red lipstick, her bright red hair, her bright green eyes. She was gorgeous. And thin. Mom never stood a chance. I got a quick drink of water and found Melanie at the hot food counter. She took one look at me and knew something was up. I tried to plaster on my Parmesan smile, but she doesn't miss much. Melanie, everything okay? Fine. Really? Yep. My dad's here. Melanie grinning. Oh, great. Which table? Andy, 14. And they need more water. Me already? Andy, is that thirsty redhead your mom? Are you brain dead? Melanie thought this was hilarious. I grabbed a pitcher of ice water and Andy followed me with their bowl of salad, sputtering apologies. Melanie bought them dessert. Annette didn't eat a single bite. I stood there watching her refuse the bites of cheesecake Dad offered her while he tried to convince me to come to dinner with him the next night. I told him I'd think about it and that I had to go do my side work. He stood up and hugged me. When I tried to step back, he held on for a little bit longer, and something in his touch told me how much he missed me. His cologne smelled like pepper and peach blossoms, and I heard myself whispering into his shoulder. Me, yes. Dad, yes what? Me, I'll come to dinner. Dad, pick you up at 7. Me, I'll meet you at Buster's. Some guy bought me this great SUV. I drive it everywhere. I didn't tell Annette goodbye. I just walked to the back and joined Andy at the staff meal. I just walked to the back and joined Andy at the staff meal. I drank a glass of water and took a plate of chicken parmesan. I picked off all the cheese and breading and just ate the chicken. Even without the fat and carbs, it was delicious. I had a second piece and a small bowl of salad greens with no dressing. Andy asked me a bunch of questions about Mom and Dad. I answered some of them, then told him I had to go. Andy, hot day tonight? Me, actually, yes. My head was swimming. Maybe it was all the protein and roughage at once. Or maybe I was overwhelmed from seeing Dad with this Annette chick. Or maybe I just missed Jack. When I got back home, Mom told me Dad had called her and said he'd seen me and that I'd agreed to go to dinner with him. Mom, he was at Parmesan's? Me, yes. He came in for lunch. Mom, by himself? I opened my mouth to lie, but nothing came out. Mom saw in an instant, just like Melanie had earlier. A smile wasn't going to help any of this, and why should I be the one helping? This wasn't my fault. As I trudged up the stairs to take a shower, I heard the cabinets banging, and the potato chip bags rustling, and the spoon for some ice cream clank on the counter. I wanted to scream down the stairs. I wanted to yell at Mom. Why do you think he left? But what could I say? I was the one who had gobbed up a cubic ton of chicken during the staff meal. I decided last night to eat lunch at work today. I told myself it was because I was freaked out by those pictures Jill showed me. Was it really? Maybe I was just eating my feelings too. I stood in the shower and let the hot water pound onto my head. When I got out, the house was still, and I knew Mom had left for work. I let out a long, slow sigh and slipped into a clean t-shirt, then slid between the crisp, cool sheets on my bed. I woke up a few minutes ago. My pillow was damp from falling asleep with wet hair. I'm going to blow it out as soon as I'm done writing. Jack is coming by to pick me up in an hour. I want to look perfect. I need to look perfect. I need to be close to him tonight. I need to feel his arms around me and taste his lips on mine and hear him tell me how beautiful I am. I gotta go check out those texts because I've got a car issue. Hold on, I'll be right back. Okay, if you were in our reading room, you know that I just read a whole bunch of pages for our reading room in our book, Letting Anna Go, and I did it without any of my volume on, and I'm just absolutely beside myself. So what I want to try and do is I want to go ahead and record this, and I'll go ahead and put the whole thing up there so I'm caught up to where I was. Saturday, July 1st, weight 120. Jack told me All of that and more. Mini golf devolved into Rob making chip shots at the windmill and purposefully trying to hit the rotating blades. He finally succeeded, sending an orange golf ball ricocheting directly into Jill's leg. She was furious and insisted we leave immediately so she could ice the purple welt halfway up her thigh. When we pulled into the driveway at their place, Jill stormed into the house and Rob moaned and banged his head against the back of Jack's seat 3 times. Rob, why do I do this shit? Jack smirking. You're a glutton for punishment, Rob. Or maybe I just like the make out session. Jack not smirking. Don't make me come back there. Rob got out of the car quickly. Jack rolled his eyes. Jack, it's a good thing I like him. He's a scoundrel. Me, I'm pretty sure Jill doesn't let him get away with a thing. Jack, the question is, are you going to let me get away with anything? Me, southern accent. Why, I declare, Mr. Jack. Jack laughed and reached over to take my hand. He brought it to his lips and kissed my fingers. He held on to it while he backed out of the driveway again, and as the moon rose over the mountain, we drove in silence. It was a comfortable silence, not a loaded one, no pregnant pause. It wasn't that either of us had something to say and was holding it back. Everything that needed to be expressed was happening in the way he laced his fingers through mine and the way my thumb kept time with the music on the back of his hand. I finally understood the phrase, less is more. Jack pulled into an industrial park behind the little airport at in the center of town. He drove between the low adobe buildings filled with stores that sell construction contractors their windows, doors, fixtures, scuba divers their gear, and mechanics their auto parts. Behind the last row of self-storage units was a 12-foot high chain link fence that ran along the runway. Jack backed up against the fence, then pulled a stadium blanket out of his extended cab behind the seat. As the moon rose higher in the sky, we lay on our backs in the bed of his truck, holding hands, listening to the roar of the plane engines drown out the sound of the music filtering through the open window at the back of the cab. Eventually, Jack rolled over on one elbow and stared at me. I felt his eyes on my face, then his hand sliding across my stomach, tucking beneath me, pulling me close to him. Both of his hands gripped my waist, and I realized that his fingers almost touched on either side. Something about this made me smile, and he smiled back. Jack, you have such an amazing body. It's perfect. I didn't speak, but I let my lips do the talking. I felt him pressing into me with that same reckless abandon he'd had on the deck of the boat last month, and I knew it was because he wanted me. I felt the thrill of his touch and the strength of his arms and legs. I recognized the fierce nature I'd stirred up inside him and relished his passion. He wanted my body, this new beautiful body of mine, and as his hands explored every inch of me, this time they slid under my clothes, taking my breath with their warmth and their tenderness. His hands were everywhere, his touch making me sure of his feelings for me even before he whispered I love you into my ear. When he did, something rushed through me like the roar of the jets overhead, and using my perfect body, I assured him I felt the same without ever saying a word. Saturday, July 21st, weight 120.5. 120.5. I can't believe he brought her. When I walked into Buster's, Annette was sitting there next to him in the booth, smiling like it was Christmas morning and Santa had brought her a pony. When I saw her, I stopped short and just stared. When Dad spotted me and waved, he nudged her to slide over so he could get out of the booth, and she actually jumped up grinning, ran to me, and gave me a hug. A hug. She pressed her enormous boobs, which were spilling out of her little strappy tank top, against me and said that it was great to see me again. Then Dad took a turn hugging me, and I whispered in his ear, what is she doing here? He tried to pull away, but I kept my arms around him, so his ear was close to my shoulder as he stuttered. I just thought. I plastered on my Parmesan smile and peered over his shoulder at Annette. Me, would you excuse us for a second? My mom gave me some stuff to give Dad, and I want to make sure I don't forget to get it out of the car later. Annette nodded enthusiastically, and Dad sputtered protest as I dragged him by the hand into the parking lot, my smile now a grim line of determination drawn across my face, my cheeks hot with anger. In the parking lot, I let him have it. What the hell are you doing? Dad, now wait just a second. Me, nope, you don't get to talk right now. You get to listen. I did not sign up to have dinner with you and whoever that is tonight. I agreed to have dinner with you. His face clouded as he crossed his arms like a toddler. Her name is Annette. She's the office manager at the dealership, and she's my girlfriend. Me, really, Dad? Really? It's been what, 2 months? Not even. It's been like 6 weeks since you walked out on me and Mom, and I'm just supposed to show up and have dinner with you and the chick with the tits in there? Dad, you watch your mouth, young lady. Me, I'll watch it all the way to my car. I didn't look back as I walked to the enormous car he bought me. I didn't want him to see the tears sliding down my cheeks. He doesn't deserve to see me cry. I get it that Mom is not a skinny, big-chested model. I understand that's what he wanted. I'd rather look like her than Mom, too. But he's my dad. Isn't he supposed to care about feelings a little bit? Shouldn't he want to talk over things with me one-on-one at least once before I'm required to start having family meals with Boobalicious, the office manager? The worst part of it was that he didn't try to stop me. He didn't try to follow me. He just stood there in the parking lot and watched me go. This was supposed to be a special night. It was supposed to be this time when we regrouped and talked and cried, when he told me how sorry he was, and when I told him that I understood more than he thought I did. This was supposed to be the night when our relationship grew up, when he stopped being just my dad and I started being my friend. I don't let my friends treat me this way. I'm not going to let him treat me this way either. I don't care if I never see him again. It's just as well. There was nothing I could eat at Buster's anyway. Sunday, July 22nd, weight 120. Couldn't sleep last night. Seeing Dad again ripped the scab off, and I couldn't stop thinking about him and Mom and everything that went wrong. Mom was up and in the kitchen in her sweatpants, eating Lucky Charms and chirping to Pam on the phone. She was chewing with her mouth open and laughing really loudly, and I just couldn't deal with it. I drank 3 glasses of water, then brought a cup of coffee and a hard-boiled egg back up here to my room. All I know for sure is that it grosses me out to watch Mom eat and act like that. And as much as Dad shouldn't have brought Annette to dinner last night, I can't blame him for wanting to be with her. In any sort of side-by-side comparison, Annette wins over Mom every time in the looks department. As I finished my egg, I glanced down at a picture of me and Mom and Dad on my desk. I was 4 years old, and we were at the water park here in town. I don't know who took the picture. Dad probably asked some stranger. Dad's tan and young and has a goatee. Mom isn't skinny, but she's curvy in all the right places. She's wearing a black one-piece suit that is cut just right for her figure and dark glasses. Her smile is beautiful and relaxed. She's laughing along with me as we try to pose in the shallow end of the wave pool. We look happy. I can't help but think we'd still be happy if Mom still looked like she does in this photo. I was thinking about this and sipping my coffee as I opened my laptop. Maybe it was the caffeine, or maybe it was the web address I was typing into the browser, but my heart started to race as I scrolled the pictures on the site Jill showed me on Thursday. These girls are thin like Jill is. I remembered how Jack's hands had fit around my waist as he pulled me against him in the back of his truck. These girls in the pictures know what that feels like. They have control of their lives like Susan and Jill. They are the opposite of my mother. I will be like them. I will have more willpower than my mother. I will not let Jack leave me the way Mom let Dad leave her. Sunday, August 26th. Weight 119. School starts tomorrow. Jill just left. We planned our outfits and she posted the following on the website. The thin commandments. Number 1, thin equals attractive. If you are not thin, you are not attractive. Number 2, thou shalt do everything within your power to make yourself look thinner. This includes clothing, hairstyle, exercise, and taking laxatives when needed. Number 3, thou shalt not eat without guilty feelings. Number 4, thou shalt punish yourself for eating fattening foods. Number 5, thou shalt always count and restrict your calories. Remember, this is the book. Number 6, thou shalt remember that what the scale says is the most important thing. Number 7, being thin is more important than being healthy. Number 8, there is no such thing as too thin. Number 9, restricting calories and staying thin are the measure of true willpower and success. I printed out a copy and taped it inside my notebook. I took a picture of it with my phone so I can look at it if I'm feeling tempted. Jill is down to only 100 pounds. All of those areas she circled last month have somehow gotten smaller. I stopped writing for a while because all I could think about was Dad, and I didn't want to deal with it. I've been running every day, whether Vanessa comes out or not. I've kept my calories down to around 1,200 to 1,500 per day. Jill is restricting hers to 1,000 to 1,200 per day. She's never danced better. I've never had better times running. I don't care if Vanessa is concerned. I'm fine. I'm better than fine. I'm better than ever. Just ask Jack. Sunday, September 2nd, weight 119. I came in second place at the Invitational yesterday. Our team won the meet for the first time in 4 years. Coach Perkins hugged me and jumped up and down and cried when I crossed the finish line. Afterward, she gathered everybody and announced her decision to make me team captain. She told everyone that I was an example of what you could do if you put your mind to it and trained like a champion. Vanessa and Jeff could barely look at me, but I didn't care. We won. I won. Dad showed up at the meet. No Annette. He gave me a hug and told me he was proud of me. He should be. I kicked butt. He wanted to take me out to dinner, but I saw Mom standing at the edge of the parking lot talking to Jack and Rob, and I told Dad I had to go. Jack asked Mom if she wanted to come with us to get dinner after the race. She had to run home and then head to work, but it was just like Jack to offer. We went to meet Rob and Jill at the restaurant where they bake your pizza in a wood fire oven. Rob and Jack ate an entire pig's worth of pepperoni. I had a salad with Jill, dressing on the side, and I decided to allow myself a single glorious slice. I chewed the first bite slowly, and the gooey, salty, greasy deliciousness ran across my tongue and made my eyes roll back in my head. It was the best pizza I'd ever tasted. Then I took a second bite and realized something. It never tastes any better than the first bite. I put the slice back down on the plate while Rob and Jack ordered more Coke and talked to a guy from the soccer team they ran into, and Jill was checking a voicemail message on her phone. I thought about the salad I'd eaten most of, except for the croutons and the bit of pizza I just swallowed, and I realized I was full. I didn't need the rest of that piece of pizza. I'd already enjoyed the first bite, and it was never going to taste better than that. The thought was like a cool breeze on a warm day, and I smiled really big at Jack as he and Rob finished talking to their friend and came back to the table. Just as they sat down, Jill's eyes went wide with the phone pressed to her ear, and she started squealing and laughing and hopping up and down in the booth, and then tears started streaming down her cheeks. Jill, I got it. I got it. Rob, holy cow, watch it. You're going to spill your water. Me, are you okay? Jill, I'm better than okay. I'm Clara in the motherfucking Nutcracker. Jack and I cheered like idiots, and we dragged her out of the booth and hugged her in the middle of the restaurant. I'm sure everybody thought we'd lost our minds. I didn't care. This is what discipline looks like. This is what willpower looks like. Take that, Misty Jenkins. Saturday, September 8th, weight 119. Jack asked me to homecoming. That sentence is amazing all by itself, but what's even more incredible is the way he asked me to homecoming. I went to Jill's last night after practice. Mom was already at work, so we hung out with James and Susan, who were watching some old romantic comedy about a hockey player and a figure skater who fall in love. Jill crushed up 4 rice cakes in a big bowl and made us Skinny Girl popcorn. If you pour enough salt on them, it almost works. I kept expecting Jack to come home, but James told me he and Rob were out shopping for supplies for some sort of science project they had to put together. Rob and Jack arrived as the credits were rolling, and both of them squeezed in next to us on the giant Chesterfield sofa. Jack grinned and kissed me on the cheek. We talked with his parents for a while. Then he asked if I wanted to get yogurt at You Go Yum. I looked at Jill with raised eyebrows and she held up a hand like a stop sign. Jill, no carbs for Clara. Rob yawning. Yeah, I gotta get home. My pop wants me to help him paint the garage door in the morning. Me to Jack. Shall I drive or do you want to? Jack, I'll drive. We held hands all the way there, and when Jack made a large swirl with caramel hot fudge, bananas, and walnuts, I told him I'd rather just have a bite of his. The first bite was delicious. The second one he held out. I politely declined. He shook his head. Jack, I don't know how you do it. Me, do what? Jack, stay so disciplined and gorgeous. You're like an Olympic athlete or something. I decided to let him in on my newfound secret and shrugged. Me, it never tastes any better than the first bite. He laughed and shook his head, then wolfed down the rest of his yogurt and dragged me back to the car. When we got to the intersection where he should have gone right to head to his house, he turned left and drove toward mine. Before I registered that my car was still at his place, we were turning into the driveway at mine, and as we did, a huge lit sign across the garage door blinked. There must have been hundreds of little white lights that spelled out my name and the words, "Will you go to homecoming with me? Love, Jack." He had to have spent hours working on it, punching holes through giant sheets of foam board and arranging all the letters just right. I sat there in shock as Jack reached behind the seat and pulled out a dozen roses. Me, but how did... There's no science project. Well, there is, but Rob and I weren't shopping for that. Me, how did we turn them on? It's a timer. I nabbed a house key from your mom last week at your meet so we could set it up. There were tears in my eyes. I'd always gone to the dance at school with either a random guy I didn't really like or Jeff and Vanessa's third wheel. Now, for the first time, I was going to go with the boy that I really cared for, and not just any boy. I was going with Jack, the best-looking one of the popular senior guys. Jack, cat got your tongue? I can't. Jack whispering, move over, cat, it's my turn. He kissed me so gently and sweetly and fully on the mouth that the tears in my eyes spilled down my cheeks from the sheer joy of being me and my skin and my life at that moment. He kissed my neck and whispered in my ear, Jack, every taste of you is better than the last. Jill was still up waiting for us when we got back to their house. Rob hadn't gone anywhere either. Everybody had been in on it, and we stayed up late in the hot tub. Then I texted Mom at work that I was going to sleep over at Jill's, and this morning we went dress shopping for formals with Susan to celebrate. Susan insisted on buying me a dress. Susan, please. Your poor mom is probably too exhausted from working her tail off to join us. I'll get the money from her later. Besides, this is a special occasion. We're celebrating what a great job you girls are already doing, winning cross-country meets and ballet roles. I'm just so proud of you. Not to mention you look fabulous. Jill tried on 17 dresses before choosing the first one. She'd picked up naturally a short black sequined sheath with a black tulle poof that wrapped on one shoulder. I tried on 4, but kept coming back to a dress I didn't have the nerve to pick up. Susan saw me eyeing it because when I opened the dressing room door, she was standing there holding it. It was simple red organza silk, not shiny but rich textured and bright. It was fitted at the top with a plunging neckline and back line. No beads, no prints, no bangles, no tassels or trim. It just fell to a pool behind my feet with the tiniest train. When I opened the dressing room door so Susan could zip the back, Jill caught a glimpse of the front of the mirror and gasped. Jill, that's it. Me, I'm not sure if I can pull this off. It seems a little, Jill, dramatic. It's amazing. Susan, I can almost get it closed. What size is this? It's a 2. I'm really a 4. Susan, no, you're right in between. Let's get you this. You have 6 weeks, and all you need to do is take off a couple more pounds, and it'll be stunning. Me, are you sure? Susan turned me back toward the mirror and told me to stand up straight. I did. Susan, now on your toes, like you're wearing heels. When I stood up on my toes, the hem at the front of the dress cascaded down, just brushing the floor, and at that moment, Susan took my long blonde hair from behind and wrapped it skillfully into a makeshift French twist, just like hers. The effect was startling. Jill, wow. Susan, this is the dress. You look like Grace Kelly. Me, you really think I can do it? Jill, as of right now, you don't have a choice. This afternoon, Jill gave me something she calls ballerina tea. It's made from the leaves of a plant that helps your body cleanse. She told me to drink a mug every day and then again at night before bed, but not to drink it before I was going to leave the house for anything important. I just had my first mug, and about an hour later, I had my first cleanse. She wasn't kidding. I'm going to have to stay close to home drinking this tea. I'm sitting here staring at this dress hanging on my closet door. I'm feeling a little panicked about being able to fit into it, but I have to. I will never forgive myself if I don't. Mom came in a few minutes ago and asked me how it all went. I showed her the pictures I took of the sign on the garage door last night, and she hugged me. For the first time, it was like I forgot all about problems with her and Dad and how annoyed with her I've been lately. So she was happy for me. Mom, Jack is a good guy. Me smiling, yeah, he's pretty special. Mom, now let me see you in this dress. It took me a minute to convince her that I needed to shower before I put it on and that I really needed to find the right shoes first, and she wouldn't leave me alone about it until I promised her that we'd go shopping for shoes together tomorrow. She wrote me a check to give to Susan for the dress and told me she was sorry she'd been so out of it and working so much. Now she's back downstairs and I can hear the TV. The work begins now. I know what I have to do. I have 6 weeks to fit in this dress, and I intend to if it's the last thing I do. First, I'm going to run. Then I need to find a red marker. Okay, I should have probably streamed that so that I could get the captions, and I didn't get the captions. But at least I got caught up and don't have to reread. This is Dr. Annette Feravich. I am here in the classroom for Healthy Mind, Body, Spirit. Thanks for joining me here in the reading room where we are reading Letting Anna Go by Anonymous. Thanks for joining me.